A gentleman came up to me one day. Limousine pulls up. Man gets out dressed to the nines and grabs my arm. Most people don't touch me. Why? I learned martial sciences when I was a kid. It's like Mr. Miyagi. The older you get, the better you get. So I was about ready to sock him, but I said, okay, he's an older gentleman. I said, my name is Nicholas. Sit down. It's a bus stop. I'm in Hollywood. I'm showing him respect. I sat down. Nicholas says, I'm 75 years old and I'm dying of cancer and I want to talk to a black man. It's 11:30 in the morning on Hollywood Boulevard. Nobody's ever said anything like that to me, not even people that know. He says, I represent the Genovese family. Right there, the brakes went on. Wait a minute, you're talking about one of the 5 families in New York. My mother used to take us to New York every year, visit her girlfriends. The word mafia technically means my daughter, for you people that don't know that. The man that actually started it was an African gentleman named Hannibal. He got tired of people coming from Rome, from a place called Sicily. You can walk right down into the northern horn of Africa, and they were raping and pillaging and taking people prisoner. Greatest general in world history. He went over the Alps and conquered Rome. But he also set a lot of people free, and his headquarters were set up in a place called Sicily, Palermo. We'll go into that a little later. But the point was, he says, I got to apologize. My leg hurts, so I'm waddling a little bit here. He said he, at the age of 11, was given a car and a .45. And an elderly man by the name of Genovese says, I need a driver. And you're a youngster. The .45 is to protect you. And the car, not me. There's 2 cars that'll always follow us. But I promise you, I will buy you and your family a picket fence. And when you're born and raised in Brooklyn, getting up north into New York, the picket fence is what you want. You want a 2-story house. You don't want to live on top of people in compartments, everything else. Nicholas was loyal. Drove him everywhere he wanted to go. Their meetings used to take place, Mr. Genovese's business meetings, down near a waterfront. You never saw the man get in the car and cry. You saw him at funerals, business meetings, all kinds of things. Always a happy man. But this day, Mr. Genovese got into the car and was crying. Nicholas pulled the car over and said, what's wrong? He said, well, we older gentlemen never mess around with drugs. Kings in old times used to mess around with drugs. Matter of fact, the King of England built most of England on opium. If you can make the people sedentary, they're not clear thinking. So you can impose your will upon them. And the more they need you, the more they obey you. He said the youngsters at that meeting were taking over the family businesses and they made big deals to bring drugs into America. All kinds. And the first place they're going to be distributed is in the black communities. When he said that to me, it hit me. Because the number 1 drug they were going to use glad that siren's going off, because this will be an emergency call and a wake-up call to some people that hear this later on in the future. It's called the battle of containment. If you can keep a group of people contained, it's like taking a bucket, putting a lid on it. They're not going to get out. Eventually they devour one another. What will then happen is the real estate values will go down. You give the blacks an opportunity to make a whole lot of money, but guess what happens? You start turning them in one by one. You want that building. You want that block. What ultimately happens is the real estate values go down. The next step is you're going to come in with a real estate development company. While these guys are in jail, families are torn apart, the real estate is available for pennies on the dollar. And guess what happens? The neighborhoods are dismantled and gentrified. The prices are put so high that it becomes a barrier to entry for people of color to live in the area. If you look around the United States, all over the world, that's what's happened. But it got so good, it just kept going. Mr. Genovese was upset about it. He says there's nothing they can do about it. All the old guys were retired. Nicholas saw many a good family torn apart, through the drugs, not the money. Why? The number one color in America and all over the world is green. It's not physical color. But I say this because being an older gentleman, I don't know anyone else that was ever apologized by a street group of people that became civilized and then interacted with the higher levels of management of our country that we always think have our best interest. Those men just did it to survive. They did it long enough so they could have a legitimate business. But when you're not selling, you got to sell to survive. Buying and selling is the highest paid profession on planet Earth. It just depends on what you're buying and selling. Period. It's not if you're a lawyer. It's not if you're a doctor. If you're a lawyer, you got to peddle your legal situation to a person that's got money to pay you for billable hours. If you're a doctor, you ain't got $25,000 right now to have us rebuild your leg? I can't help you, although he has a skill. So my point is that predatory way of treating people rather than negotiating is called warfare, pure and simple. So after Nicholas finished, right on cue, the limousine pulls up. He got up, he had tears in his eyes, he hugs me. I'm thinking, boy, I can't wait to tell somebody this. And this has been the first time in my life I've ever told anyone about it, because we were talking about drugs and business, etc. So I say to most of you, we can choose to do whatever we want to do, but the way it's presented to us, it looks like it's glorified. Good example. In warfare, they try to tell you, dying for your country is a blessing. No, it ain't. The key to warfare is get the other guy to die for his country and help him do it, and you go home. So don't get caught on the field of battle here. Now it's fentanyl. Then it's, what's that other stuff they call meth? You know what the key to meth is? Adolf Hitler developed meth to keep his soldiers up and just on cue. Hey man, take him and you got another vial of it. Cue. They could shoot thousands of people in 10 minutes. And they're sitting there boofing all day. As a matter of fact, if you see a picture of Adolf Hitler at the 1936 Olympics, everybody's white except for Jesse Owens. Yep. He was saying, that nigga can't win, that nigga can't win. And he is doing fentanyl and meth, which was a mixture, hybrid. But they knew how to control it. Come on, they did it scientifically. Germans are not stupid people. That's why I'm drinking a German beer today. And my grandma was German too. Idle beer. Sorry. Having a senior moment. But Jesse Owens came out of those blocks and beat everybody on the field. Adolf Hitler was shaking so much he didn't want to shake his hand. He was afraid of what he saw. Yeah. Everything they had done, even to destroy Jews and blacks. By the way, first Jews were blacks. It comes from the continent of Africa. That's right. I know I'm bouncing around here, but maybe you guys will do some studying. But what I'm saying is, to constantly come after a group of people just because of the color of their skin, you got to ask yourself, why? Why? I mean, if it's a basketball game, it's the shirts against the skins. You wearing the white jersey, I'm wearing the black one, we're playing football. Why is it against color? Because one of the main reasons is, this is true to this day. Matter of fact, let me go forward here, and I'll come back, and I'll shut up after this. A company I used to work for called the American Federal Reserve Bank, they never do surveys. They don't have to. They just say, here's the money, here's how much you owe us. They pay their people. Most of the people that work there are people of color, believe it or not. The designers of the money, the burners of the money, the meeting people. It's amazing. But they don't give you tours of the place unless you work. Most of the people that have ever worked in real money, and that's real money, they realize, you know what, we've had a pretty good life, but most of us never even finished high school, college, whatever. But you're able to pay for 4 of your kids to go to college. You got a house. Not prayed for, but paid for. But our kids, even with degrees, are making 30 to 40% less than the lighter skinned counterparts. So right before COVID, which I always find amazing, they did a survey. They went to the top 3,000 corporations in America and said, here's $1 million. You party with it or whatever, but for 1 week, we're going to study your personnel. They went to Google. They went to Facebook. They went to Microsoft. They went all over the place. Top companies. Thousands and thousands of employees. They even went to Trump's company. He got 20,000 employees. No wonder he's so insulated. Bloomberg only has 2,500. But anyway, they did a study and they were appalled. They released it. 5 weeks later, COVID broke out. What'd they find out? People with master's degrees in business, been working at a company 14 years, making 40% less if they were people of color than the white counterparts. Well, guess what? That's the exact same level slavery was, because all slavery does to people is restrict resources. That's why you gotta go out and sell some drugs. Why I'm trying to survive so I don't have to steal, so I'll risk this. They put you in that battle of containment. And this is the one generation that has enough information through a cell phone, which, by the way, was made by black dropouts, most of them. I'm not being rude. I'm trying to throw something out there for you. You don't have to play their game to win. What do I mean by that? It's not the color of your skin, it's the content of your character. 75% of what you're looking at around you, no matter where you go, is built by no one any more intelligent than you are. The only difference is they have a research team that goes to libraries. That's what research and development is. It takes a long time to extrapolate from the past what's worked. Once you extrapolate what works, you bring it into existence. Nobody can stop you because everybody else is looking at the color, is looking at the money. Well, let me break it down to you. If I'm a person of color, no matter what my degree is and I'm working at a business, if they're paying